Hi, hello, welcome to Man with a Mentor. I am the man, your host, Matthew Barnard, and you may be wondering what a show called Man with a Mentor may be about. And basically, it's about me finding people that have had fascinating and interesting career paths and all the little steps and things they did to get to be in the successful place where they are right now. And I have a guy here right now. And his name is James Jennings. Hi, James.
Hey, Matt, how you doing?
First of all, I love the name James because my grandfather was named James.
Well, several of mine were too.
It seems like it's a good name to
It is.
keep passing down. And he was British, so that made him maybe cooler than you. I'm not sure.
No, probably.
Well, I'll tell you in a half an hour. All right. Well, I'm going to read something here about you, James. James Jennings is a 38-year-old father of 5. Marine Corps veteran, fitness coach, and the entrepreneur behind Kilo Foxtrot Fitness and the Keep Fighting podcast,
Yes.
which I'm ready to be on also.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I will entertain your audience like crazy.
There we go.
All right. So first of all, let's start off and say thank you for your service.
No problem.
And I feel like, I feel this way, but you can tell me. Do you feel like you don't say, like, I was a Marine? Do you feel like once you were a Marine, you're like always have a Marine mentality, or like you can say, I am a Marine?
There is that sense of ego and pride that still goes with achieving something as great as that, going through 13 weeks of boot camp, and then being an infantry Marine like I was with 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marine Division. And it was a lot of fun. So I'll encounter family members or even friends or people who don't know, and they'll say, oh, you're an ex-Marine. It's like, no, there's no such thing as an ex-Marine. Once a Marine, you're always a Marine. That's one of our mottos.
Right.
So we stick with that, and
Right.
it's so true.
13 weeks. It seems like, how do you get fit in 13 weeks? Just dying daily? Aching?
I mean, it's up early. It's a lot of cardio, push-ups, crunches. Pull-ups are the big thing for Marines, doing pull-ups. So we would be up super early in the morning, and a lot of you stay in a caloric deficit, which is how you lose weight. So I went to boot camp weighing 236 pounds. I was a pound away from not being able to go. So I went there in 2005 weighing 236 pounds, and after 13 weeks, I walked out of there weighing exactly 200 pounds. So I lost 36 pounds in 2 weeks, or 13 weeks.
You went like right out of 17, 18 years old. You jumped in the Marine pool. But what was going on that made you think like I want to do that? Were you like playing with GI Joes at 5, or did you not think about that part of it?
No, I grew up in a military family. Everybody in my family was in the Air Force. I was on track to go do the Air Force as well, and that's what I wanted to do, be like them. And then 9/11 happened.
Oh, right.
I was in high school when 9/11 happened in 2001. So I would put me as a freshman, and I decided, well, I really want to go in the military now because I want to fight.
Right.
However, I don't want to do the Air Force now. Now I actually want to go fight. Because I knew I wasn't going to be a pilot, and I knew I wasn't going to do some of the other things. So I was like, I want to join one of the branches. I thought about the Navy, the Army, but for some reason the Marines just appealed to me more, and that's what I decided I wanted to do. 13-week boot camp, the longest boot camp the military offers is them. It's the few and the proud appealed to me, wanting to do something tough to prove to my family that I did have what it takes.
Right.
And to go do that. I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder.
Oh, right.
Growing up with
Shocking.
my family, yeah. So I had.
What's the difference? Like, the Army will just take anybody that wants to join
They all have different standards. So it's based on the ASVAB. I can't remember what that acronym stands for, but you take that. It's like an SAT to get in the military. So you take that test, you get scores, and it says this is what your placement can be. And you have to score so high in order to get into whatever branch. And each branch has a different one.
Right.
I can't remember what the score you needed was to get in the Marine Corps at this point in time. That's over 20 years ago.
Right.
So, but I made it.
Right.
Obviously, I did good enough, and I'm not great with mathematics, and it's definitely in there.
Oh.
But, I mean, some of the other branches, I do feel like they have looser standards on what they look for. Maybe that's just to fill the numbers or whatnot, but I can't really speak to that.
Right.
I do know like I have several friends that were in the Army, and they absolutely loved it. And we worked with Army guys overseas, and they were some of the best dudes to work with. So everybody can do it.
When you thought of like the Marines is coming, like you said, they approved and you approved, and you thought, I'm a fit, tough guy. Was there anything that like hit you right out of the gate where you were like, oh, I was not expecting this, or how am I going to get over this or past this or through this?
Oh, for sure. Oh, there was definitely some limiting beliefs on my part going into the Marine Corps. And first of all, I wasn't a fit, tough guy. I struggled with weight all through high school, trying to get my weight down. I barely got my weight down from where I was, just enough to go to boot camp, and I made it. Like I said, I was like 1 pound away from not being able to go. Right. And I worked my tail off just to be able to do that. And I knew going into the Marine Corps would be elite, and they would get me to be the big fighting tough guy that I wanted to be. And they definitely aided in that. The rest of it took a lot of my inside, and pushing away limiting beliefs and saying, no, I can do this. But there were definitely days, like the rappel tower is 90 to 100 feet tall. And you put on a little rope harness around your waist, and you hold on to a rope, and you got to rappel down the wall. And I'm like, this is going to be fun. I got up there. I froze. I stood up there, and when the drill instructor switched from the frog voice you hear like in movies, where they have the real wah, 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 voice like that yelling at you, and he talked normal, and he said, look at me. He's like, I'm here with you.
Right.
You can do this.
Oh.
He's like, I know you're afraid, but I'm not going to let anything happen to you. And it was all I needed was to see the human side of someone that I didn't see as a human for 13 weeks.
Right.
But my destroyer become someone more of a nurturer and say, hey, you can do this, and you can make it. And I did it. And then I did it like 3 more times, and it was a lot of fun.
So you had some traumas earlier, like before you went in as a Marine. Like, do you think you went into it like as an escape mechanism, or did you like confront your traumas through the Marines and come out the other side and say like, well, now like I've dealt with them through going through this? Or did you feel still like there was inklings of traumatic things that happened that you had kind of pushed even further down? Or, I don't know if you want to talk about those things.
I would love to talk about it, and because there's not enough men that do. And we need more men to share and be vulnerable about things that have happened in their life.
Right.
And the biggest trauma for me was when I was 5 to 6 years old. I was sexually molested by a teenage boy in some apartments here in Dayton, Ohio, when I was growing up. And I actually forgot a lot of that happened. I blocked the trauma out until later in life. I started having nightmares about someone hurting me, and I was like, what is wrong with me? Why am I having these weird, bizarre dreams of being sexually abused by someone who I don't even know? Right. This is so weird. What's wrong with me? So I went to my therapist, worked with her. Right. She did one of those, get the sound bowls out, make it ring, and we did some meditations, and she said, your details are way too detailed. Like, these are memories trying to come forward finally.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So then we found out I was sexually abused as a kid, and then I remembered everything. And it was rough. I went home, told my wife about it, and, had a session with her with tears and stuff like, this is what happened to me. I can't believe this. And we finally figured out that's why I get angry about stuff sometimes.
All right.
But growing up wasn't always easy.
No.
I grew up in a tough home, military family, old school military family too. And my grandfather raised me, and he was very rough sometimes, verbally, emotionally, sometimes physically. So for me, going into the military was an escape from that growing up. But it also, when I said I had a chip on my shoulder, that's really what it was, because I was constantly told that I wouldn't be able to do this or do that because I was weak or not, tough enough.
I'm just wondering also, did you see anything being a Marine that also affected you mentally in terms of so much talk about PTSD?
Oh, for sure.
So were you like, oh, great, let's add this to the trauma? Or were you like, I'm going to work through this and everything else too?
Yeah, I knew it was a possibility. Obviously, I raised my hand, I swore, and I volunteered to serve the country. And I knew going to war what that meant, that it would not always be pretty. I mean, it's war. It's not supposed to be. And the war on terror was in full swing. And we invaded an area of Iraq when I went in there that had never seen Americans before. Like, Baghdad had already been taken. I went in there in like 2006. We went to a whole area that hadn't been taken over yet, and we took it.
Ah.
And it was fine then, but afterwards, I mean, we lost 14 Marines and some sailors during that first deployment I went on, and it was rough. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
There was a lot of death. There was destruction, combat, and fighting, so I definitely got what I raised my hand for, and that is stuff I worked out through therapy, yeah.
Oh, right.
And healed.
Oh, yeah. Do you still feel healed from, like, the abuse as a youngster and any trauma, PTSD stuff from, or does it still kind of rise up and surprise you, like, oh God, it's, it's still there a little bit?
I don't believe we ever fully heal from trauma. What I can say is that I have worked to a point to where I don't have bad dreams. I don't have nightmares. Now, my attitude might say different. Every now and then there might be something, use the word trigger, that might trigger an emotion or elicit a feeling from me that is frustrating. And that is now recognized when it happens. Like, okay, I need to breathe. I need to step back because my kids don't deserve my attitude right now. So I need to step away from them, take a moment, reassess, and come back. I've learned how to work through it instead of just go with it and be angry. And I don't want that.
No.
Well,
you talked about kids just now. So let's talk about family and things like with that. So you had very tragic events happen, like in the last year or so.
Yes.
And which, like, I cannot believe you have gone through that as well. And I don't know if you want to, like, talk about what that was and how you overcame or how you're dealing with it.
Absolutely.
And how it's kind of, is it fueling your fire for your fitness and your Keep Fighting podcast? And
100%.
Okay.
It is. So, backstory on that is I was married before, went through a divorce. It was my fault. I ruined that marriage. None of her fault.
Right.
Ruined that. We had a son together. He's 13 now. And then during a few years after her and I's separation, I met my second wife, which I call her my true wife because I loved her.
Right.
And really, she was my best friend, my soulmate, and still is and always will be. And we got married July of 2015.
Right.
Yeah, July 11th, 2015.
Right.
And
I'm impressed that you remember your anniversary. Like most men, it's like, what? What's the date?
Yeah, July 11th, 7/11.
Right.
That was how we remembered it. 7/11,
Gotcha.
2015. And then she already had two older children that were 8 and 5 when we met.
All right.
And I am now dad. I've been dad for them over a decade.
Oh, all right.
And that's the dad that they know.
Oh.
So I have guardianship and take care of them. Unfortunately, last year on July 10th, the day before our 9th anniversary, my wife succumbed to sickness and died. And I lost her.
Oh, my God.
And it was it's one of those, like, we knew she was sick a lot and there were some issues, but you didn't actually think it was going to happen. And it did come as a shock. And she was the first guest on my podcast. Back when I used to call it Fighting for Men, it started off as Fighting for Men. It was strictly for men, not really catering to women at all. Now it encompasses both.
Right.
Because I feel that's important. Because anything I have a say of value can be applied to a woman as well.
Right.
But yeah, she was my guest for a Mother's Day episode, and it's really good to go back and be able to hear her voice and listen to it, and a lot of her friends. It's actually my #1 played episode. A lot of her friends still listen to it so they can hear Rachel talk and share her mind. And it was a beautiful, brilliant mind. And she was a musician, a performer. So she was a lot of fun and a lot of spunk and attitude, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Right.
And then in April of 2024 is when I started the Fighting for Men podcast.
Right.
And then she was my guest in May. Then came June, and actually June I have an episode called Trauma where I talk about like my sexual abuse and being abused growing up and stuff in the military, just to get that out there. It was the first time I publicly mentioned it anywhere.
Right.
So this would be the second time besides on my own show.
Right.
that I've talked about that.
Yeah.
And then come July, she died the day before our anniversary, and I was there for it. I was on vacation from work. Thank God I was on vacation because we decided to take that time off. The kids were getting ready to go with their grandparents out of state back home to Georgia, where everybody's from, to kind of go do a church thing down there. And I'm glad I was on vacation when it happened, because that would have been horrific for my children to have found, their mother that way.
Right.
So I was home, able to handle it, and I remember every detail, but it was a blur. It's still at the same time, you remember everything, but it's a blur.
Right.
And the very first thing I did after her body was collected by the funeral home, and my in-laws, they took our children to their house. The first thing I did, besides cry my eyes out and yell at the ceiling a bunch, is I went outside and I did like an hour and a half workout with all my kettlebells. I went straight worked out because I knew that I still had to do it for the day. And I went and I did that, and I put all of my anger, all of my sadness into that fitness and just got rid of it so I could clear my mind and then go be with my children and family.
Right.
And that way we can go throughout the rest of the day, because the next days were going to be harder. And we're coming up on a year in July of her being gone.
Right.
So as we approach that, it becomes more real. It still hasn't really sunk in sometimes that, it's real. You feel like you can go upstairs and you can still see her. Well, but she's not.
Right.
But it's just a process.
Oh, yeah. All right. Would you want to talk about Kilo Foxtrot Fitness and
Yeah,
where that
absolutely.
came from, and coaching, and
Sure.
like how does it work? How do you get client? Are you getting clients?
Oh,
Are you,
yeah, I have definitely
how
had
does
clients,
it? How
yeah.
does it all come together?
So being an entrepreneur is obviously not easy.
No.
It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of hustle and putting your hands in your face sometimes saying, what's next? One of the things I'm working on with that is, it began as I love teaching people stuff. I like instructing. One of the things I got to do in the military towards the end of my time with them was I became a basic urban skills trainer. And I would teach people how to clear homes, react to sniper fire, explosives, things like that in a fake city, and teach them how to basically do what we do in order to survive. And I enjoyed teaching people. I just don't want to teach kids. I don't want to be a teacher in a school. That's not for me. I love my own children, but other people's kids, I'm okay.
Right.
I need to take lots of breaths at that.
Yeah.
So, but other adults, and helping them to release the weight that they have to feel better and take back control of their life, is really what I want to do. So fitness is such a small part of it.
Right.
Now, I call it Kilo Foxtrot Fitness because there's already a Keep Fighting Fitness out there, or I would have used the same name. So I used the military phonetic alphabet and just went with the K and the F, the Kilo Foxtrot for Keep Fighting.
Right.
And called that
Right.
Keep Fighting Fitness, or Kilo Foxtrot Fitness.
Yeah.
And I do
I
have...
like it. It like all seems to flow
That's the
together.
whole point, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like you might dance while lifting weights.
You could.
You know? Yeah.
I have some people that do that. Some of my clients do that.
Right.
They get really energetic, and I love to see that, because that's what I want. It's like, I'm not a drill instructor. I'm not yelling at you. But while we're working out and training, we have conversations. And I express to them, in any means necessary, to help them find their why as to why they want to do something. Like, what is your purpose in this? Because you can sit there and you can say, well, I just want to get rid of this weight and look better and feel better. Okay, cool. Why?
Right.
And you keep asking yourself why, until
Right.
you get down to where maybe you have tears in your eyes, and you come to find out, like, well, I'm tired of being that person that was made fun of in school growing up because I was always overweight. And, and some people will tell you that they don't want to break the chair when they sit in it anymore, when they go to a restaurant cafe outside, because that's
Right.
happened to them before. It's embarrassing.
Right.
So they find that deeper reason, besides the fact that they just want to look better and feel better. Maybe it's, well, my dad died when he was 40-some years old from a heart attack because he couldn't get up off the sofa. And now I don't want that. I don't want diabetes. I don't want hypertension. I don't want to have a heart attack. That's what I like to help people do, and to show them that there is a beautiful being inside of themselves waiting to come out, that they got to work hard for, though. I just can't reach
Right.
in them and pull it out and say, here's your new body.
Right. No.
You got to earn it.
No.
Everything's earned, nothing given. One of the biggest factors I have found, Matt, with people not being able to achieve their fitness goals is they have unresolved trauma in their life that they have either not worked on to seek help, so their cortisol levels are higher in their body, which helps you retain weight and stress. Like during stressful times, you retain body fat during high levels of cortisol. It's not your friend.
Right.
Or they haven't forgiven themselves for something. And maybe it's a trauma. Maybe they need to have a conversation with themselves in the mirror and look at it and get vulnerable and say, I forgive young James for being the way he was, or mean, or treating people poorly, or whatever it is that you did.
Right.
You know,
Right.
whatever it is that's on your heart and
Sometimes
soul.
like that thing of writing a letter to the person that you like want to confront, and then like you don't send it.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
You should send it. No.
Oh, yeah.
No, and then that can help. Like you've been able to get off your psyche, like the troubling things, and like
Yes.
and then burn it. I think they did that on a Friends episode. They do everything
maybe.
on a Friends episode.
There's so many of them, it's hard to remember. I
Yeah.
think there's an episode of Friends for every part of life that you could watch.
But I did want to say like one more thing.
Sure.
Is that I know like working out like can be beneficial.
Okay.
But I also think, don't you think that you need to like find like the fun things on your own that don't seem like hard work exercise that motivate you or you get like enjoyment of? And I'll give you some
Okay.
examples, James. So, maybe go out and play a little tennis.
No, for sure.
Right? Tennis? That works?
It's not my thing.
Right.
However, if that's what you're into, then by all means swing that racket.
Right. Swimming?
Yeah.
These are my trunks, and I haven't worn them in years because that would require, like, mostly seeing my top half.
You got to find your purpose, and that's what it's all about, is finding your purpose of what you do.
Right.
The Japanese, actually I'm doing a study on it right now, and I'm going to have some episodes on it. Ikigai,
Oh,
or Ikigi. Ever heard of that?
no.
It's the Japanese philosophy of finding happiness in what you can do, what you know, what's fun, and how you can make money doing it. And there's an island, there's a city in Okinawa that's known for having, I think it's called Omi, known for having some of the most longevity of people living past 100 and some years old. And it's based on their diet. It's based on they constantly keep moving, their happiness, communication with people. They just live longer there because they have figured out what their purpose is, and everyone might be different. Like,
Right.
I ultimately believe every man's purpose, yours, mine, every man, our purpose is to somehow lead and serve.
Right.
But there's
I like
like
that.
levels in between that of what you're good at. Like you might be a healer. You might be someone who your purpose is to help them legally, like going to court and law, or doing what we're doing here and sharing value with others so they can learn from it and be sharpened by it, because iron sharpens iron. So, you do that. You have these conversations and you inspire other people. And
Right.
you don't go average, being mediocre or average. You don't inspire anybody if you're mediocre or average.
No.
You go above and beyond and you fight for it.
We're above average.
For sure. I don't want to
And-
be average.
Right. No, and with that, I want you to plug your business and where people can find you and
Okay.
your podcast. Tell people where
Absolutely.
they can find those two things, and then I'll thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. So I have 2 Instagram accounts. I'm mostly on there. And the first one is official James Jennings on Instagram. That's my personal page / podcast page. And
Right.
then it has a link on it to Kilo Foxtrot Fitness. It's either Kilo Foxtrot Fitness LLC, or the LLC is not on it. It says Kilo Foxtrot Fitness. But I think it does have the LLC on it because I am an LLC.
Right.
And you can find that. And then my website, or www.kilofoxtrotfitness.com. That's where everybody needs to go if they're interested in taking back control of their lives and leveling themselves up through fitness and nutrition and getting back on track. Go there and fill out my survey.
Yay. Thank you,
Absolutely.
James. So just go for it like James did and I did, because we're above average.
Yeah, I believe you have an obligation to find your purpose in life, and you should.
Exactly.
And if anybody needs help with that, they can also come see me at 63 Bellbrook Plaza in Bellbrook, Ohio, where my gym's at. at a holistic wellness center called Gym City Holistic Wellness. And you come there, and there's lots of modalities and myself there to help aid people in finding that.
All right. I'm coming.
No,
All right.
absolutely, you should.
All right. I'm going to follow you there right now.